evening. Welcome back. Still Breakfast Central on News Central. We go straight to our second impact on the show today, where we're going to take a look, very close, in-depth look at the finance bill that was recently signed by the federal government of Nigeria. Now, the bill was presented alongside the 2020 Appropriation Bill to a joint session of the National Assembly on the 8th of October last year, 2019, by President Muhammadu Buhari. It was subsequently passed by the National Assembly and signed into law just a week last week, and will take effect on the 1st of next month, that's February the 1st. Now, to really break down this topic, I'm joined by Kayode Okunola, who's the managing partner of Broadview Advisory Partners right here in Lagos, Nigeria. Welcome, Kayode, to Breakfast Central. Right, let's talk about this finance bill, which was passed alongside the 2020 budget. What's it all about?
Well, thank you for having me. The finance bill, as you mentioned earlier, is basically to address about four things. On top of it is the additional revenue for the government. The government needs to expand its revenue base, and so they thought it wise to make some amendments across the tax laws, and also is to bridge the fiscal equity. You know, there have been some tax hacks that have been termed as regressive in the time past. So maybe to bridge those gaps, you know, they had to do that. And also there's a reason to, you know, there's a reason to ensure that Nigerian tax laws is in tandem with international laws. You know, so they try to also do that. You know, so and to also, you know, encourage investment in infrastructure and other aspects of the economy.
The capital market. Yeah. So would it be wrong to say that, you know, this is just to increase government revenue, especially when you look at it from the consumer, from the average Nigerian perspective?
Well,
or because of the general tax culture we know is not so high?
Well, to the extent that the government have a cost to need more revenue, or at the same time they have to broaden the tax net, you know, encourage a number of people into the tax net, and also find a way to encourage the small and medium-sized businesses so they could grow and get into the tax net. Now, to also, you know, make Nigeria a tax-friendly environment, because some of the repealed provision in these tax laws were actually inimical to investment. You know, so they had to bring out those things and amend them so you could encourage people to come in. And when people come in, make money, then you can get the taxes that you need.
Yeah. All right, because, you know, we know it to take effect from February the 1st. So what's the perception like, you know, you've observed since it was passed back in October 2019?
Well, a number of small and medium-sized entities have been very excited about it because for the first time, they could plow back their profit into expanding their businesses. So if you're classified as a small business, that is, your turnover is lower than 25 million, you don't have to bother about your income taxes when you file, and you also don't have to register for VAT or charge VAT on your goods and services. So that in its own will in many ways save them cash flow and also allow them to, you know, to some extent, maybe you see some reduction in the prices and also give them some competition. You know, so I think especially when it comes to the VAT rate, which was increased from 5% to 7.5% late last year, not many people, you know, felt really receptive to it. In fact, it was the first thing that, you know, gave people a bit of a palpitation when they realized that this is the plan from the federal government. Well, you also want to give it to the government because they try to also take out the vulnerable or the very small businesses out of this. And they also increase the number of items that are not vatable. So to some extent, the common man really is immune from this impact. And when you also want to juxtapose the rate that Nigeria is now paying, it's still considerably lower when you look at how the rates cut across countries. Even though you may have some concerns as to the scope of our VAT law, but even at that, it's still something that is not very high when you consider other countries or even African countries.
Now, President Buhari released this alongside the 2020, budget, which also I don't want to go into that specifically, but the budget has always been such there's always antagonism when it comes to its release and when it's being put past. And now that you have a finance bill, would you say that from a government perspective that we are moving in the right direction in Nigeria for this one? At least this is a positive.
Well, for me, I'll say it's a positive. For the first time, we now have a budget that runs from January to December, and a budget that looks at how do we want to generate this revenue and try to amend the tax laws to drive it. So I think it's a good way to start, even though we have a long way to go, because we now have to start looking at the budget performance, as the year progresses. Because what we've had in the time past is you have a budget performance rate that is not really encouraging. So we do hope that with the finance bill and coming into time, I believe that we'll see a lot of improvement.
We know that when it comes to, especially when it comes to tax here in Nigeria, many Nigerians don't have the tax identification numbers, especially when it comes to rural communities. Will this new requirement have to be before, like you open an account to discourage potential bank customers? Do people really have to have that tax identification numbers now, especially when it comes to directly relating with their bankers?
Well, for now, that if we consider the pronouncement by the finance minister, for now that provision is not coming into effect yet.
Okay.
So they have to look at ways to implement that. For now, what we have is you want to obtain a tax identification number, you get to visit a tax station. So I'm looking at a situation where the process of obtaining that number will be seamless, and maybe you can do it via your phone, from the banks. So once is one of the issues that we have with Nigerian tax administration is the ease. Of doing things. So there are some bottlenecks that, as we make the law more friendly, more affordable for people to comply with, we still have to look at the ease of administration. So if people can get to do most of these things with ease, then you still have some milestone that we can look at.
You pointed out about promoting fiscal equity, which is one of the key objectives of this finance bill, alongside increasing government revenue. Can you really expand more on that for fiscal equity?
Right. So you have a situation where you have some income already subjected to tax in other clime.
Okay.
And so when you bring it here, you still subject it to taxes. So that's not going to encourage anybody to want to say, I want to invest in your country and generate revenue and be subjected to double taxation. He that must come to equity must come with clean hands. The Nigerian laws, proud to finance bill, we have a lot of double taxation provisions, which really gets to people and very frustrating. So those are some of the things that trying to take out. For instance, the excess dividend. Before now, you may plow back once your taxable dividend declared is more than the taxable income. The FRS will want to subject that to taxes, not minding that such income that you have plowed back may have suffered taxes before, or may be part of income that is exempted from tax or is coming from other client. You know, so some of these provisions being straightened out now is, you know, it's a good thing to
yeah. So how do we promote more awareness for the ordinary Nigerian citizen about this, you know, finance bill for 2019, which was passed? Do you think enough is being done, or we need more orientation, sensitization programs for this, so that people can really come on board?
Well, I have some kind of challenge, you know, as regards what I've seen in terms of education and all.
Okay.
You know, because in fact, I've had cause to say that the finance bill have the good, the bad, and the very ugly. You know,
which one is the good?
Yeah, the good is that you now have some of your taxes, some of your income now exempted from taxes. You are encouraged to do some things. You know, while the very ugly for me is that the default rates now, the penalties for default are really, really, really high. You have some of them being, you know, you now have about 500% increment in some of the tax default penalties. And I'm not seeing enough education to make people understand this. For instance, the law says that if you just changing of office without informing the tax office, you just change your office without informing the tax office, you'll be penalized at the rate of 50,000 naira for the first month and 25,000 naira for subsequent months. So if that exists for 20 months, then without knowing, you have incurred a penalty of about 525,000. So for me, I think the education needs to be more, and also how people will transition from being a small business to a medium size, because once you transit to that, then you are required to start doing your VAT and all. So the education for me is not...
Especially for those who think that they should be exempted from this.
The education is really not tight for me. So that, I think, is a drawback from government and from the tax authority. If we can do more, then I think we should be good.
All right. Well, I think if we were to take away anything from this discourse for the finance bill, what would you say would it be? Well,
what I would say is it's a call to action for anybody running business in Nigeria. You get to ever than before. You get to look at how does this bill impact you, because it impacts everybody, either small business, medium size, large companies. How does this bill impact me? There is nobody it doesn't impact. So it impacts you. Have your plan, try to review and have your strategy so you don't fall into the traps.
And that might also be looking at your tax, what they call it, the TIN number for those who that will require it. And there are common requirements for you to get it, your TIN number, right? I suppose from the authorities.
Yeah, so to get your TIN is just for you to walk up to any tax station, and they have forms they will administer to you. And once you fill the form, then you'll be required to attach your registration document, your utility bill, your stamp and all. You know, it's free.
And bank, a bit of banking information too.
Yeah, and your BVN now. You know, so
which is
which is very okay and not difficult. But it's the process, the ease of doing it. So I'm looking at, I don't have a TIN. I want to open a bank account. So I get to my bank. My bank is already plugged with the FRS. You know, so then by the click of a button, they generate a TIN for me. It's just a TIN. It's nothing.
Cumbersome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and giving us all the information about it. Kayode Okunola, Managing Partner of Broadview Advisory Partners, Lagos, Nigeria. It's been quite an honor.
Thank you.
Well, if you enjoyed watching this video, click here to get more of it, and don't forget to click here to subscribe.